Hi everyone, I am the CRM Ninja, and tonight on the Oops Factor, I am joined by Mary Thompson. Mary, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
An absolute pleasure. Now, for those who don't know Mary, Mary is one of the rarest of people. She is an F&O consultant who generally the community doesn't really see much of. And they tend to be very quiet and then talking to accountants and being very serious. Isn't that right?
It's yes, that or they already know everything. I don't know. I'm not them. So
I actually work quite closely with a very good F&O consultant here in the UK, Ash Sharma, and yeah, it was very interesting to see sort of the differences between the front of house systems, CRM and Power Platform, and what we used to, and the way that F&O and BC works. So, anyhow,
it is.
yes, yes. But let's not talk about too much about that sort of stuff because that's what we do during our day job, right?
That's right.
So before we start, I understand that sports somewhat central to your family theme. You like
Yes.
running and you have a son. Tell us about your son.
Yeah, I have a 10-year-old. I guess he'll be 11-year-old next week, and
Wow.
he plays football, which is very big down here in South Carolina, in the U.S. And my husband is also the coach for his team, so
Oh,
we we eat, breathe, and sleep football. I don't understand most of the conversations that happen in the house regarding practice. I just shake my head and nod and say go team go and cheer them on.
being supportive, that's a thing to do. Yes. So,
Yes.
I mean, here in Europe, football means something slightly different. It's what Americans would call soccer.
Soccer.
And I have no idea about the game. And I know a lot of people who are fanatical about it, and they talk about near side and offside. And I just shake my head and go, "Okay, brilliant, right?
Yeah,
It's all great." So your weekends must be busy shuttling to and from games and practice and stuff.
they are. He has a lot of his games on the weekdays, actually. We actually are a
Oh,
little bit lucky. We have the weekends to ourselves, but I mean, they are at the football field Monday through Thursday for 2.5, 3 hours a
wow,
day for about 6 to 8 months a year. So
wow.
they put in so much time, and I answer community questions while they're at football practice.
But
So
we each develop in our own ways. You know what we do with community interaction, involvement, and
mhm.
researching the technology and understanding it. You know, is in a way the same thing. There's a book called Outliers about that 10,000 hours, which is a figure that's bandied around. You know, to become really expert at something. So,
Great.
well,
Yeah.
we hope that he does well, and congratulations on his birthday.
Thanks. I'll let him know.
So, onto the oops factor. What oops story do you have to share with us?
So my big oops story comes from an end user position when I was kind of started first working with D365 back. This was actually back when it was still AX on-prem.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was kind of a fun story. I had started with this company. I got hired to do sales tax, and so it's kind of my claim to fame in D365 F&O is I can do sales tax. I can configure it. I can do all of it. Um, Not great with that, but good with sales. Anyways, so long story short, I got really good at my job. It wasn't too challenging for me with an accounting background, and so what was supposed to
Hold on,
take.
hold on.
Mhm.
You have an accounting background.
I do, I do.
So you came from being an accountant and
Uh-huh.
dealing with the finances and using the system
Yes.
to working on it. Sort of you hopped over the fence and selling the systems and working on them for clients.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow. Okay. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
I like to think that it gives me a special niche. I'm not the only person out there doing that, right?
No.
But it gives me, I don't know. It allows me to connect with my users. I understand their pain. That's what I feel like.
Yes.
I understand your pain, and I've sat there, and so sometimes I think it's a really great way that allows me to connect with my clients.
That's very important, especially with dare I say accountants. I worked in a company years ago that actually was selling as to the vertical sector, a very custom solution with the dynamics for accountants. for CRM.
Mm-hmm.
And normally you'd react to sales pitches and stuff in a variety of ways, clients would do and prospective people. Yeah. These accountants walked out and each looked out and said, "Oh, thank you very much." And came back to the office. I said, "My boss after I said, they didn't really seem enthusiastic." He was from an accounting background as well. And he said, "That was really enthusiastic for accountants."
I had a manager a while ago. I was like, "Well, what should I do? I want to go to grad school." And I was like, "Well, what should I do?" And he was like, "You are really great at accounting, but I just think your personality would be wasted if all we ever did was keep you counting numbers here." So he actually encouraged me to get into the ERP system and the ERP world. And wow. That kind of catapulted things. So that's how Amazing. I found myself in this position. So
that's great. So you were saying this was for a client, this situation.
Well, I was working for them, and so long story short, I got my job done really quickly, and I was able to cross train in a bunch of different areas because it was supposed to take me 3 weeks. It took me about 2 days, and so. Wow. So I was able to learn a bunch of different areas because I wasn't going to just sit around. And that came great when our company got sold. And that part was sad. We had like an accounting team of maybe like 15 to 20 people. Okay. And they knocked it down to 3.
Ouch.
Yeah. And
was this because of software or regardless of the software?
This was regardless of the software. This was just business. This was just life happening and acquisitions and hands changing. So So when that happened, they wanted me to move from the accounting department. They wanted me to move to Ohio. I said, "I'm not going to Ohio." They said, "Okay, well then we need you to do production." I said, "Okay." And they're like, "But we don't know anybody here that knows how to do production. We've never had to use." So we went from manufacturing to processing. So the system changed.
You mean what the company did went from manufacturing things to... Okay.
Yes, they sold the manufacturing company and became more of a processing center, service center, okay?
Got it.
So it was like, we need you to enter all of this outside production, but we don't know how to do it, and there's nobody here that's done it before. Do you think that you can read through some things and figure it out?
Okay.
Sure. So I feel like I learned new curse words during that period of life. It was so frustrating. But I eventually kind of got a system and I got a role, and it was just me. And I was working, no lie, I worked at least 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for about 6 months.
How did you not burn out?
I don't know. I just have an amazing propensity to keep going, I guess.
Coffee?
Yeah, a lot of coffee. Okay. As I was a single mom before I married my husband, and you learn just to operate on no sleep. Like, sleep's not an option. So.
Got it.
Yeah. So, all this was really great, and things looked good. And I mean, my bosses, while they felt bad that I was working this hard, I mean, they at least knew this girl is cranking it. So we like her, right? Good. A lot of work is good work for your bosses. And then I ended up switching to the accounting department. The purchasing department.
Okay.
And when we started, basically like 6 months down into it, we realized that all of the costing was wrong. We couldn't. Yeah. And no, it's not. And there was massive errors. Inventory, valuations being completely wrong, zero costed items. I mean, I was over here making stuff work in and out of the system without fully understanding the configurations and how to make sure the finances were going correctly. At that point, I mean, I wasn't a CFO. I wasn't necessarily doing that, that side of it. It was just getting everything done. And And
All
then it
hands
took
on
me,
deck, cranking it out, making sure that
yeah,
things were happening.
right, and so it was just like 6 months worth of all this work that ended up being for like nothing. And on top of it, it's like everything in the entire system, and our financials for the company are completely wrong. Like, no big deal, no big deal at all. And it was, it was only on me. Like, I was the only one doing it. I was the one that screwed everything up. And I had a boss one time tell me that he was never going to be mad at me for making a mistake, but he would be mad if I didn't do anything, if I just sat around
Okay.
and not do anything. And so I think kind of one of my big takeaways in there was, it was great that I was fine. I'm like, okay, let's just charge through. Let's get whatever it is that we need to have done. But in hindsight, even having an accounting background, I should have probably caught. I probably should have asked some more questions. We should have probably been
Right.
validating things, a lot sooner in there. And I I worked for that company for probably another year and a half, I would
Okay.
say, after that quote unquote discovery. And it was like every time it was a metal processing company, and so it was like every time I like looked at like the cost of like the metal or like our inventory, there was like a roll of metal that was like cost high or it was wrong, and all of our financials were wrong. I just like cringed. I'm like, it's my fault. Yep, I know all of the costing is wrong. And then my thing is I created so much more work for everyone. I made a nightmare for the CFO, for the controller, for everyone that had to fix everything, and then like that was probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And I pray that they've gone through all of their inventory and they're not still cursing my name all these years later.
I'm
So
sure it's been dealt with. So what lessons would you take out from that? Moving forward on projects and clients that you work with, what do you try and do in order to mitigate things like that?
yeah, so my biggest thing moving forward is always checking postings whenever they're running. Do an AP invoice process or simulate a process, whether
Okay.
it's receive a PO, run a production order. That's a big one. That's a big one that I check now. Is on those production orders. Is in testing and in configuration. Make sure all of that is right. Make sure that the client understands what those different transactions are and what they should expect and what they shouldn't expect. Not just like the
Yep.
happy path, but when should this look off, so that we can resolve all of those errors, going forward. And there's also this really great parameter that's called like use last purchase price that I understand a lot better, because in the end I realized that was an integral part into how I screwed up all of my said costing. But I think
Got
that
it.
that's the biggest thing now, is now that I know what a giant financial error that can be, it's just really checking and testing all of the scenarios and posting scenarios
Got it.
that go
Yeah.
around it. Yeah.
So
So
really, I mean, from what I'm hearing from the lesson is, don't just do in theory, but actually check, run proper data through, compare it, for instance, to the system that was there previously, see about discrepancies, work it out. But also something that I've been talking about with people in general recently is when you test, you don't just test for the results that you want.
right.
Also test for scenarios that you don't think of. I mean, this is why test teams are really, really important, because they'll
Yes.
throw stuff that you can't even dream of, random characters, spaces, special characters and numbers and things, and see
Right.
if it breaks, see if what it comes out with. So yeah, test, and keep testing and use real data.
Yes. Using real data and testing. And
Brilliant.
then when you think you've tested everything, test it again, because whenever you go to show your client on site, it's not going to work. You're going to have a hiccup.
So something as part of ALM, the application lifecycle management, and when you roll out is continual testing. Make
Right.
sure you build unit tests as you go along. You ensure that it's documented properly. You know what you're doing, and always do regression testing to make sure that you haven't broken a
Yes.
previous piece of functionality with the release of a new piece.
Right. So,
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Now, if there would be somebody who you would want me to invite on the series to share their oops factor, who would you want to see on the show?
Oh, I don't know. Golly, I'm so like on the spot right now.
I like to throw this at people.
I would say Emma. She's my go-to, but I know you've already done one with her.
Yes, Emma was one of my first.
How about, have you done, I think you've done Eric, haven't you?
I have interviewed Eric. He's not live yet. He will be by the time this goes live.
I don't know. Then maybe Fausto. Have you done him? He does flow.
I have not.
Yeah, I would do Fausto. I can get you his contact information. He does
Wonderful.
a lot with Power Automate now, and works with Chewy. All I know is the dog named Chewy, Sean. So, but yeah, I'll get you that information.
Brilliant. Wow. Yeah, definitely. Let's connect offline, and if you could do an introduction, that would be amazing.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, once again, thank you so much. Viewers, we hope that you've enjoyed this. Please feel free to check out the rest of the playlist for the Oops Factor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and check out my blog. Have a great day.